My name's Juliet Helmke. I graduated in 2012. I did my undergraduate in a studio program. I majored in sculpture, as well as art theory, and I think soon found in that program that I was spending a lot more time on my art theory assignments and not a lot of time in the studio. And so once I graduated, I looked into writing programs, and I had about a year off while I was working and saving up money. I did my undergraduate in Australia, in Brisbane, where I also went to high school and where my family lives. I'm Australian and American. I was born in New Jersey and moved to Australia when I was about 9 and did all of my schooling there, and moved back to the United States for this program. I think my ideas about a lot of things, especially art-related things, writing-related things, I think a lot of that changed from beginning to end. I probably came in with a very rudimentary understanding of what art criticism was, which was just critiquing art. And I knew that I liked art and I enjoyed writing about it, and I really didn't, I think, understand the scope of what art criticism what falls under art criticism until getting into this program. I would say that I did change as a person because of this program, and part of that is because of the actual program itself, and part of it is because of moving to New York for this program and the huge change that that was for me. It was a big move. It was one that I was prepared for, but you're never really prepared for it. I think that I got a lot of support from the program and the people in the program. They soon became just, my base, my circle of people, and that was kind of a wonderful surprise. I think I also changed a lot in that I learned so much. I wanted to be a part of this program because I knew that I liked writing about art. I didn't necessarily feel that I wrote about art or about anything particularly well. I didn't feel that I had those skills, and that was really what I was looking for in this. And it is a skill set that this program gives you, and I think that's really special, but it also gives you so much more. There's a lot of theory, the discussions that you have, they're really, that's a pretty special thing, to be able to sit around with a lot of people and talk about interesting ideas and also work out your own ideas in a group setting of people that will challenge but also support you. And that for me was hugely transformative. I wrote my thesis on 3 artists, Daniel J. Martinez, Tanya Bruguera, and Teresa Margolles. And I wrote about 3 works that I actually had never experienced myself. And that through realizing that really was what the thesis became about, because I found that I was drawn to these works that I had only heard described by people who had seen them or experienced them, and I'd read about as well. And the works that I focused on were 3 pieces that were very immersive, very experiential, all installations where the viewer or participant is very much surrounded by the piece. They make up the piece. Without an audience, there is no work of art in these cases. So I was drawn to something that I had never seen before, and I wanted to figure out why these particular works were affecting people in a way where they talked about them differently to the way I felt a lot of people were talking about art that they had seen. I would say the process was a long one. I would never realize that, 3 months or something could feel like such a long amount of time, and yet so short as well. I learned so much from that experience. I was really pushed, and that was great for me. I had so much self-doubt. I also gained so much confidence from it. I think even, 3 years later, I'm still experiencing the effects of that one semester where you try and write a long form piece of writing. It's huge and it's hard. I took comfort in that. I remember in my first year speaking with Tom Hoon, who was a professor that we had for a philosophy course that was offered, and he said something that was along the lines of, writing a thesis, it's the first time that you've ever written to that length, and basically it's just teaching you how to write to that length. It's not necessarily going to be good or great or this masterful piece of art, but even experiencing writing something of that length is a huge learning experience. So, I mean, we all wanted our theses to be good, or we all wanted our theses to say something and to express something because we were writing about things that were important. But we also realized that, this was the first time a lot of us were doing that. When I finished the program, I got a job working in a not-for-profit in the arts. I was in their communications and publications department doing some administrative tasks, a little bit of writing, a lot of the writing for the organization, but in a very organizational voice. I was working in their publications department too, which gave me some experience in that, in catalog, exhibition catalog publishing. And that was a great experience for me. It taught me a lot. At the same time, I knew that the writing I wanted to do was in a voice that I could claim as my own. So while I was working, I was also writing on the side, nights and weekends, for different publications. And after a while, that writing eventually turned into another job. I made a connection with somebody who liked my work and who I liked working with, and she eventually recommended me for the job that I'm in now, which is assistant editor at Modern Painters magazine. Yes, I still keep in touch with a lot of people from the program. They're the first people that I met when I came to New York, and they're a lot of them are still just like my core group of people here. I would definitely recommend the program to people that want to write about art. And that is because that's exactly how I would describe myself coming into the program. I wanted to write about art. I didn't necessarily feel like I had the skills to do that. I knew I liked doing it. I spent a lot of time writing assignments in my undergraduate and exploring ideas in what I knew at the time was not very elegant or well put together language, but it was what I had. And I would say this program definitely gave me the skills to do that. This started me, everybody who's a writer is going to want to keep learning and keep honing their craft, but I really came into it with no confidence about how one wrote about art in an interesting or compelling way. So if that's the aim, I want to write about art, then I would definitely recommend this program to people. One of my favorite classes that I had while I was here was with Michael Brenson. We had read some of his work prior to having a class with him, and he's still I read his work regularly, even if they're essays that I know already, and many of them I do because I have his books, I read them a lot. And he taught a class that I had in, I believe it was second semester of the first year, called Criticism and Risk. And I think a lot of us went into that not really knowing what that meant. We went into Michael Brenson's class, Criticism and Risk, not really knowing what it was that meant. And it wasn't like he was just going to tell us what that was in the first week or in the first couple weeks or actually throughout the class. That was up to us to discuss and to sort of figure out on our own and together through the really wonderful readings that he set for us and the discussions that he prompted. That was a great class, and he's somebody that I just admire so much, and I feel really lucky to have had that opportunity to spend such quality time with him and talking about things that were important to him. People will always tell you that it's tough to have a day job, a 9-to-5, and to write. And somehow I just didn't really take it on as like, I didn't really understand or really take on the fact that it was genuinely difficult to do that. But so I beat myself up about it from time to time, about not writing enough. And I really felt like I wasn't writing enough, but I was writing a little, and that was better than nothing. And it was important to me. After finishing this program, I didn't want to stop writing. It made me want to write. It maybe didn't make me want to always sit down and just have words flowing out of me, but I knew what that felt like to be so productive with your writing, and I didn't want to lose that. So I wrote as much as I could, which was sometimes I felt like a good amount, and sometimes I felt like I was doing nothing at all. Sometimes I actually was doing nothing at all, but that's okay. That's how this goes. So I was writing, and that was really what was feeding me, and a lot of that came from the program and knowing what it felt like to have a writing practice and to dedicate time to that, even if it was hard. I actually came back and talked to some professors here after I'd graduated about that difficulty, and all of them told me the same thing, that it is hard and you'll keep doing it. I'm lucky now to have a job. It's a new job, but I do feel very lucky to have gotten myself now into a job where the type of writing that I was doing in my free time is now a part of my job, and I get to write in my own voice. I get to work with some really wonderful writers. I get to look at art as part of my job, think about who is interesting, what artists I find really compelling at the moment. And that was something that we were doing in the program. And I mean, I can't imagine anything better than being able to do that now in my 9-to-5 life. I'm at a very open workplace where it's really encouraged that everybody that works there is going out and looking at art and coming back with ideas and saying, hey, I think this person is great, and I really think we should look at so-and-so's work, or I think we're overlooking this type of art. It's a very inclusive environment, and I feel very pleased to have a voice and have a say in this publication and be able to talk about artists that I think are interesting right now. And that's important to me, not only because it's what I want to do, but I feel like it's important to artists too. I feel like I get to, in a way, support them and support the artists that I like. So I feel fortunate in that way. The art that I like looking at is informed by conversations that I had in this program and tastes that developed over my time here. I also feel that we had a number of teachers, professors who emphasized going with your gut. If you see something that you like, figure out why you like it. If you see something that doesn't work for you, figure out why it's not working for you and craft something that explains that.